So how depressing can a movie be before you completely turn off to it? Hello everyone and welcome to Movie Reviews by Josh. My name is Josh Terry and I'm going to be talking today about a movie that is kind of crushed me a little bit. Maybe crushed is a little bit too dramatic a term. Maybe just kind of annoyed, I don't know. I feel angst as a result of this movie. And I'm going to explain why. It's called Brad Status. This is a little bit more of an under-the-radar movie. This is with Ben Stiller playing a middle-aged guy, which makes sense because Ben Stiller is a middle-aged guy. There's some smart casting right there. And anyway, Ben Stiller plays this guy named Brad. I forgot his name and then I remembered the title of the movie and I was able to bring it back. You wouldn't have even noticed if I hadn't brought that up. Brad is feeling a little frustrated with his life because he's actually doing pretty well. He runs a nonprofit even though he doesn't have any employees because his last employee quit because he said the job made him depressed. But he's married to Pam from The Office, which is good, and he's got a son who's actually got a chance of getting into Harvard. So you'd think, hey, Brad, what's your problem? Everything's good, right? Well, the problem is that Brad went to college with a bunch of people who are really, really successful, like Jemaine, Clement from Flight of the Conchords, who plays like this tech guru who's retired at 40. Luke Wilson is like this hedge fund guy who's got tons and tons of money. Martin Sheen is like this political insider who's a successful novelist and has been in and out of the White House and all this kind of thing. And then Mike White, who actually wrote and directed the movie, is a very successful Hollywood film director. And so he's got all these friends who've gone on to all this great fame and fortune, and he's just kind of living in Sacramento in just kind of a normal, kind of middle-aged, middle-class domestic life. And so anyway, so he's feeling a little hard on himself. And as you can see, he's kind of in a situation where it's like, okay, well, yeah, we can see why you feel bad, but at the same time, you kind of need to buck up, bud. Anyway, what happens in the movie is that he and his son decide to go on a college hunting trip back east to kind of Boston, go see Harvard and Tufts and different places like that. And along the way, his whole kind of, he basically has a midlife crisis, is the best way to put it. As they go back there, he winds up, well, his son winds up missing his interview appointment at Harvard. And so Brad kind of has to scramble to figure out how to get his son a chance to actually get into the school because it's a big deal and he wants to go into their music program because there's a professor he really likes and all this kind of thing. And in order to kind of find a way to kind of use an inside connection to get him an interview again, he has to call up Martin Sheen's character, who he hasn't talked to in years and of course feels very inferior to, and it really drums up all these feelings that he has of being unfulfilled and out of luck because he can't afford to upgrade to business class on the flight out and just so on and so forth. And so the thing is, this movie is really kind of relatable to anyone who feels like they haven't achieved what they wanted out of life. And Ben Stiller, like Ben Stiller is one of my favorites, and I absolutely loved him in Walter Mitty, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty from a couple years ago. And in some ways, this kind of seems like a similar character, a guy who kind of had set his sights on bigger things, didn't quite accomplish what he wanted to, definitely has some really good things in his life, but is kind of making the comparisons with the people that he's coming up short against. And this becomes very obvious when he actually meets up with a couple of his son's friends who are already, in music programs at Harvard. And they kind of have to take it to him and say, hey, man, you're just a bunch of, you're just kind of a sad, privileged guy who doesn't realize how good he has it and all this kind of thing. And what's hard is that in order to kind of show you how much of a funk Brad is in, the movie has a way of kind of losing itself in its own misery. And while you relate to it and you can sympathize and even empathize with Ben Stiller's character, the movie's, I'm guessing that a lot of people who watch this are going to think, oh, this is just kind of a drag. And he does figure some things out. In fact, one of the things he figures out is that, hey, I've got this wonderful son, and even if I haven't done all the material and, wonderful things in life that I wanted, I have this great kid, and I have this great wife and all this kind of thing. But it seems like the character arc to get from where he's at to where he's going almost seems a little bit too subtle. I wish that they would have, not necessarily had a big sunshiny happy ending, but it still feels at the end of the movie like he hasn't quite got to where he needs to be. Hopefully that's not giving away too much. It's not really that kind of a movie. For that reason, as much as I wanted to really like it, and as many things as I really did like about it specifically, I still wound up giving this one about 2.5 stars out of 4 because it just doesn't quite get over the hump for me. And This is coming from a guy, again, who, like I say, I really like Ben Stiller, really like his stuff, and I wanted this one to be a lot better, but kind of struggled with it a little bit. So this one is an R-rated movie almost exclusively for profanity. There's not really a whole lot else in the movie that's going on. So like I said, this was not my favorite Ben Stiller movie, probably Secret Life of Walter Mitty, but what is your favorite Ben Stiller movie? Or maybe tell me about something that you wanted to accomplish in your life that you fell short on. Leave your answers in the comments below. My name is Josh Terry, and I would love to have you subscribe to my channel on the way out. Leave your notifications on so you can see the new videos as soon as they are posted. And take a gander at the Rockagator stuff in case you're in the market for a waterproof backpack or perhaps some socks.